Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason from Beekeeping Oregon. It's February 16th, 2020, and I'm in my carport. I'm having some cars driving by, but it's February, and we're calling for like mid-50s and sun all week this week. And what's on your mind now is spring management. Of course, you're checking your colonies for growth and population, and people always worry about mites. But also feed. You got to check their pollen sources, their honey surpluses, things like that. And so what we're going to do here just real quick is mix up some, our own pollen patties. Just got in the mail today my 10-pound pail of Ultra Bee, which I recommend. And most of the recipes I found were based on 3 to 4 pound weights or 20 or 50 pound weights, but they sent it to you in a 10-pound pail. So I did the math. And essentially what we're going to be doing is a 10-pound batch of pollen sub. And I got my notes here. So basically I broke it down per pound of pollen sub. You're going to have about 1.7 pounds of sugar, about 0.7 pounds of water, and about a quarter cup of oil per pound. So that ends up being about 10 pounds of pollen sub, about 17 pounds of sugar, about 7 pounds of water roughly, and about 2.5 cups of oil. Now everyone uses vegetable oil. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be using coconut oil and see how that works. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of Honey Bee Healthy in my recipe as well. So we got the hot water here. It's almost boiling. We're going to add the sugar first. Get that mixed up. And the point of the hot water is obviously it really kind of melts and kind of liquefies. Whoops. Try to. A bowl may not be the best option, but we're going to go with it. Whoops, there it goes again. And there it is. Now I got my cordless drill and my paint mixer here. We're just going to give this a go here. Kind of get it started. Okay, got that mixed up a bit. Now it's really important, I'm not sure. It's going to be really important to add the oil next to the hot water. That way it can mix in really well. And we're going to mix it as we're adding. There's that. Get splattered a little bit, it's all part of the fun. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our 10 pounds of pollen sub, and then the 6.8 or 7 pounds of water was roughly 3 quarts of water, and so I'm going to be adding in the correct amount of Honey Bee Healthy for that measurement of water as well, and mix it all in. And then this is going to, since it's hot, it's going to sit overnight to thicken up, and then we will come back and take a look at that and see how it looks. See you in a minute. So good evening, everybody. So this is the second half of our pollen patty video. We've got our bucket here with our mixture, and we're using a paint scraper here. Comes out kind of the consistency of peanut butter, which is good because you want it to be spreadable. And essentially what I'm using for the pollen patties, I've got 2 cookie sheets here, donated by my wife, thank you, and parchment paper. And I just cut off a chunk here, lay it out. Then we take our pollen mixture, and you just put a couple gloves on it here in the corner. And you're going to end up with about 6 spots roughly on here, give or take. Now I know that you go buy pollen patties and whatnot, and people are talking about exact weights of a pound of a pollen patty and whatnot, and these aren't exact. I'm not really going for that. I did measure my frames in the beehives, and I'm cutting these at a 5-inch by 1 foot length. That pretty good size. Gets you right around a pound per piece, and then I'm cutting those in half, so they're about a ½ pound patty. I do that mainly because I want to have more control over my bees' intake, and I don't want to give them too much. And if they go through a ½ pound really quickly, then I can give them more. There's other bugs in the hives that like this stuff besides the bees, so I want to make sure I'm not giving them too much. So essentially, we're just putting it down like so. Hang up our tools here. Stick that back in there. Then we've got our next piece of parchment paper that goes on top. I just kind of smash it down by hand, get it started, and yes, I wear gloves because it gets kind of sticky and nasty. And then we take our second sheet and we just press it down, and that's what our goal is, to get it nice and flat so it fits underneath the inner cover or whatever cover you're using. You want to give it some good weight, try to get it evenly flattened out the best you can. Now when you're done, you end up basically with a sheet of pollen patties. And then, like I said, I measure these at basically 5-inch sections, and this is about a foot wide pan. That's about 4 to 5 frames width, which is what should work there. Really good for pollen patties. You see I've got some cut up kind of over right here, and again, it's not an exact science. You may or may not, if you do this, have some leftover smaller pieces, which are like these right here. They work actually really good for nukes or mating nukes. Anything like that you want to use. So yeah, this is pretty much my pollen system for my feed. You just mash it down good, cut it up, and then we pack these 4 to 5 pieces in a bag and put them either in the refrigerator or the freezer, depending on when we're going to use them. And you make these, like I said, it's February here in Oregon. You make these now, we've got about 32 pounds worth after that 10-pound pail we used. And it should last you for the year, depending on how many hives you have. So this is what we do. You buy a 10-pound pack from Glory Bee or anybody else. Normally you're going to spend 45 to 50 bucks for 10 pounds pre-packaged. I did the math on this, and including the parchment paper and everything, I think I was into each pound of pollen patty for about $2.10 a piece. So it's about half the cost. It just takes a little bit of time. So yeah, this is kind of what we do to get ready for spring season. This is Jason Vanderpool with Oregon Beekeeping. And if you like this, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and yeah, appreciate you watching. Have a good night.